Welcome to Port Tressler, where we're going to talk about the Constellation Phoenix Emerald, and Phoenix in general, to be honest, as well. Notice the cantilever design of the landing gears has its rocking here set up. It has its landing gears in the back. And I think what's interesting to most people is actually the exterior of the ship and also its snub. Reminder to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank Tim and the subscribers. Okay, so let's get started with the meat and potatoes of this ship, the controversial parts and also the amazing parts of the ship, depending on how you look at it. So the audio was a little busted on this, unfortunately. I try to do this live, so this is a voiceover after the fact. Now, the Phoenix is basically got two sections to it. There's the crew area, that's the bridge, and then the crew quarters slash hygiene for crew and such. And then there's the VIP area in the back that's like for supposed to be for passengers, or I guess you could argue also, to be fair, the owner of the ship. I'm going to go into that a little bit in detail. But the visibility of the cockpit is phenomenal. And I know people mock the struts and such, but right where you actually sit in the main pilot seat, the visibility is pretty good. The buttons are pretty good for VR capabilities. So in the future, even in the first iterations of VR, you'll have a headset on, and when you look at something and then you hold down F to press something, you should be able to press it. And that can all change with the Golden Pass and Master Modes and whatever, but I'm a big fan of having a lot of MFDs to keep all the visibility so you're not paging through all these different things during the middle of a contract you're trying to run, or PvP, or whatever you're doing, or surprise PvP. um, and that's pretty helpful. But the visibility in the cockpit's good. You have enough space for three people. So when you're not in combat, you have two co-pilot seats next to the pilot seat, and they have pretty decent visibility too, almost as good as the pilot. I mean, the pilot's got that glass at the bottom and the top that has taken extra visibility, but it is what it is. Now, one of the neat things about having all three of your crew right here is that those two crew members that are in the co-pilot seats, if they're not being used during combat, with PvE or PvP combat or something, they can hop into these man turrets. Now, these man turrets only have a pair of repeaters on them. They're not particularly well sized. They're not very big, but they're pretty good at handling smaller things, making them think twice. Pair of badgers hammering on an Aurora or something like that, or a Gladius, is gonna make them sweat at least a little bit, especially when you go into the pilot weaponry that would also be working on them when it can line it up, especially the size 1 missiles. More on that in a minute. But right now, you're looking at the top man turret that is activated, and in general, the ship itself can defend itself okay. Um, the turrets are exposed armor. You can see like how the kind of the turret comes out of the ship, and that's for the top and the bottom. And because they're manned, on that has a kind of a mixed bag. It's a fun effect to jump into the seat and feel like you're in, like, the Millennium Falcon effect or whatever. Yes, I went there. But in general, the honestly, it'd be more practical if the co-pilot seats just had a enter remote turret option in them. The ship actually has crew quarters for four, the actual jettisonable beds that act as escape pods. But I would argue this is a three-person ship, unless like engineering becomes that prolific and that much workload. So you got two turret operators slash co-pilots, seat folks. You've got the pilot itself slash captain, and then you've got an engineer maybe. But I honestly think you can get by with three people on the ship and easily keep up with it. So I'm showing you the sustainment here. And you can see that these small guns on such a big ship with so much power in it, they just recharge extremely well. So it's not all bad. And master modes and some of the gimbal weapon changes and stuff coming, they're going to rebalance the turrets again and again and again. So these may get sized up or down. These may get better rate of fire. These may do more damage in the future. But that's what stock is, a pair of badgers on both turrets. So I think I remember right, we go to co-pilots, the pilot seat again, because I feel like I have to mention the pilot weaponry. When there's a set of four larger energy weapons, you can see those, the Muskies there, And remember, you have to point the ship at the target for those. In the future, we may have them on gimbals, which means they can turn and pivot a significant larger distance, so the ship itself doesn't have to fully keep up with you, which will change the game dramatically for players that are in fast movers that are used to just orbiting and harassing larger ships. You can see here that these large sticks are sticking out the side. They are full of size 1 missile goodness, 28 missiles no less. And I'm lining up video here to show you the missile there. If there's one that just size 1s just flew off. And yeah. Now, what's interesting about these is when Josh Kuntz redesigned the ship, he pointed out that they had to move these a little bit because that back stick basically ended with missiles, warhead of the missiles pointed inwards when it collapsed in. When it's in when you hit the center mouse key again and it goes back to regular weapons, they were pointed inside the master bedroom in the VIP area. So that was less than ideal. So that had to change. That had to change. But in general, there is a great little bit of a weapons loadout for a ship that's not really designed to be like a pure gunship, such ship. It's not supposed to be an Andromeda, but it has quite a little loadout, and it may get even better. So there's a point defense system, PDS as they call it, that should be on this ship if it has, if they stick to its original promises. Now, to be fair, it might be smaller than the PDSs on larger ships, but PDSs in general, they're designed to take out missiles and start doing damage to torpedoes, and try to make them do less damage, if not hit at all. In the crew areas, this is where we're standing now. You'll see that there is this table that's supposed to come out of the floor. It hasn't come out of the floor in a while. This ship tends to be a patch by patch. Something changes, fixes, breaks, etc. You can sit here. You can note that it's really not designed for somebody in full armor and a backpack and all that fun stuff. This is more supposed to be where crew's unwinding. They put their gear away in the lockers to the right. We're going to see in a minute. And in general, this is not a terrible crew quarters. I think a lot of people that complain about the ship, you can see the outdated weapon racks, for example, and equipment stuff racks that are going to change obviously with the passes. Those need to have. I'm pointing out that they has to have small weapons at the top, medium weapons at the bottom. These lockers are not really usable yet, but they will be in the future. Probably did have lockable storage for each person. I've seen that in the C2, M2, those type of ships. When you look at the Hercules, they have like those storage boxes in the middle, but this is like on a smaller scale. I guess I'm going to the beds next. So the beds act double as escape pods. You can see the door was glitched there on the ground. So each one of these acts as a escape pod, not just a bed for the crew. Now, if you heard my last video about the 1.0 bed logging thing that Chad McKinney wrote about, we'll see what that means in the future. I still stand by my assessment that I believe it's going to require resources to be logged out in a bed, and there may be some type of NPC walking around as you in the future or something like that when you do that log out. And I don't think it's going to be log out as we know it. I don't think it's going to be instant, and I don't think it's going to be in the same method. But that's all speculation. And I've purposely used the medical because that was medical requires supplies to be done. That's another critical core function of the idea of this lived-in verse. I don't think it's going to destroy the game when they do it. I don't think it's going to destroy these type of ships. I just think it's going to change how you do it. So one of the most infamous things on this ship is that the only restroom is this one. So this in the crew area, there's a shower toilet system with a sink and all that stuff. You see the shower above and the toilet's there. It's not really fleshed out yet because it doesn't need to be. Hygiene's not in the game yet. But the idea that VIPs will have to walk through the crew quarters and come to this thing in order to take a shower or use the restroom is less than ideal, to say the least. And I have some theories about how to fix that, and hopefully in the pass. But yeah, it's probably the most controversial thing on this entire ship, aside from the fact that the only way off this ship is through that airlock on the floor. if you're not going through a vehicle or through the cargo bay that usually houses a vehicle. So into the beautiful part. Josh Coons did an amazing job on this ship. You can see this is your entry point to greet you into the Phoenix. It is, in his words, quite baller. And it has three VIP rooms. I go to those first because I'm trying to focus down the real meat and potatoes of the ship. For some people is the VIP transport missions and VIP usage for themselves as well, for their org and for their friends. And you can see this double bed, well, queen size bed, I guess you'd say, or might even be a king that seats two people. This is me pointing out that the missiles used to be in front of this window. This was the window I was referring to that Coons said he had to change in order for the warheads to not literally be pointed in while you're laying in the bed. I mean, some people that are in a Mad Max type environment might appreciate that, but not on a luxury ship. These little things are kind of deceiving. This looks like a storage thing, but it's not. Or at the very least, it might be storage in the future, but like behind that is actually part of the ship. That's part of the ship that allows the ship to operate with its landing gears and with its cargo bay mechanisms to go up and down. So that's a critical part of the ship hidden away. And you can see one on both sides of the ship, both there and in with the giant hot tub that doesn't work yet. So in general, this room's kind of Spartan for a master bedroom on a luxury ship. It's a shame that there isn't, furniture right there. So basically, it would be nice if you could use UEC to purchase or build yourself a set of furniture for in there, at the very least right there. Have like a mountain point, like a flare item. You can see the double pane window. It is unique and interesting that it has relative privacy, but you can see very easily into the other room. It's a nice touch. It's a little awkward though, for a two-person bedroom to have a window that overlooks the rest of the house, so to speak, of what is this living space. You can see the fish tanks that the master bedroom does not get in fish tank, and more of the master bedroom looks into the other rooms that have fish tanks and have screens and stuff. But you can also see these single beds. There's two of these. These rooms are quite cozy, and I do like these. In particular, the one across the hall I'm about to go to is the one that I usually use. So if you're a pirate, you didn't hear that. So basically, there is a nice run from here to the pilot seat. And what I'm going over right now is why I decide this. For whatever reason, it makes it easier for me to make the run. So even if the F key doesn't work, so when you first log in, sometimes for me at least, the F key doesn't act correctly, so I can't open and close doors quickly. But you can see how quickly I can run back and forth. Could I sleep in one of these crew bunks? Yes, I could, but I prefer not to. It's that simple. But I don't need the giant master bedroom, which is even further away from the cockpit. So on a large ship like this is pretty impressive. So that was me flubbing down the step. I shouldn't have like grab walk down the step. But you can see like when you have the F key working, you're pretty quick if you make it down those steps. So if you're doing like a fast response where your org is screaming for help and you joined on their server and you're logged out somewhere in the verse, you can log in quickly, get in the ship, and you're already sitting in the seat, powering up the systems and preparing to quantum towards their target destination, joining party, etc., etc., etc. If you haven't already by that point. So that's kind of my point with this, is that your egress from logging in to the actual getting to the job, to the work that you want to do, is pretty quick on this ship. I don't like this one for some reason. This side just doesn't click for me as well. Like when you're coming out, it feels like it's extra angle there. So I prefer this one. But in general, it's something worth mentioning. I'm spending a lot of time on it because I think that's an important part of this ship. You spend a lot of time looking at the ship and you're like, oh, before you get it, you're like, oh, VIP missions and this and that. And then you realize like, well, day to day, I'm not going to be using it for that. And I can't right now. So what do you use it for? And the answer is for your own use and maybe for you and your friends and stuff. And for a small group, it'd be perfect to use once in a while. And yeah, it's a nice touch. When you're solo and you're locking off in your own bed, it's a nice little spot. And you're still in like that luxury zone with a it's a nice soundproof area that's comfortable, nice lighting. Even when the lights are down, by the way, it looks really nice in here. They did a great job on this, and I'm sure when the Golden Pass happens, it'll be even nicer with more customized lighting. You don't have to turn the shields off to get the darker lights. So these chairs are one of the reasons that I think a lot of people really love the ship, and particularly for me, is that these four chairs with the table, because you have two people facing two people, so you can kind of park the ship 90 degrees next to something and then show off what's going on. So you can all watch like say a race or you can watch like the pyro star exploding or something. You can whatever it is. Um, One of the things I really enjoyed using this for is I'll bring it out for when the first day of Invictus, or when sometimes, some years, they'll actually put it in PTU ahead of time. And so anybody who's on PTU, I'll gladly invite them on my ship. We all hang out and watch the fleet come into town with the fireworks going off as they move to the station to station, because you got that countdown timer that tells you, kind of gives you a cheat, and you know when they're going to come to the new locations. And it's quite a cool experience to kind of go touring the system with the fleet, so to speak, and everybody's having a good time. I've had the ship stocked up with 6 people doing that the one year, and on one specific run, and that was quite memorable. So yeah, and this ship does handle groups pretty well. People kind of space out instinctively. You can sit at the bar stools, you can sit at the business chairs. There's beds. There isn't a working hot tub, but there is a dang hot tub that'll eventually be there. I'm pointing out the lighting. So even when the lights are off, these go to like a nice hue to them, like that, like a brighter color that fits well. And in general, the lighting is well done. The bar is well done. I even like the Constellation Phoenix logo, which is actually the Phoenix constellation in space. Once again, I don't know if Coons came up with that or one of his team members did, but they did a fantastic job. And honestly, everybody did a great job on this ship. The things I'm even pointing out that are negative is more of just me saying these could have been better, but this ship is fantastic. So you can see that these waters and other things, unfortunately, are inaccessible. It's just for show right now, which is a shame. That would add a ton of value to this ship. I mean, they have everything you can imagine. Like there's like a wet bar there, with actual sinks and everything. But you're staring at all these liquor bottles, cigar humidors, and just normal water. And you just wish you could just at least use the water bottles, just like in the Redeemer and this the C8R. So in general, this ship is a great form up spot. It is a wonderful way to transport you and your friends to a place. There are a lot of ships in the verse that really don't have the look and the feel that this ship enjoys. And I think over time it's going to shine more and more as these services come online and as the ship gets a few of its little issues get knocked out. Inside this space, there is quite a few things going on, but over here is a big vast area that's actually, I would argue, is modular. It's flare though, to be fair, where you can replace the piano. You can replace the conference table with a piano. So back in the day, I didn't have the money for a Phoenix, but what I did pick up is like a $5 C88, so the 88G Hartwell piano. And I was promised that I could actually use it in my hangar, because I figured, oh, well, I might someday get a Phoenix, and also if put it in my hangar, I look forward to playing music. It only plays one song. You can sit there, you can play the song, you can hit stop playing. Sometimes the stop playing button works, sometimes it doesn't. It plays Moonlight Sonata. And at the end of this video, I'm actually going to play it. You'll see it running. You can't hand play it yet. If hopefully in the future you can program different songs in or hand play the keys someday. But right now you can't. So in its stead, um, by the way, that piano in the original concepts for the Phoenix constellation, the piano is spun around and on a 45-degree angle into that corner to the left of the screen. And then I think it was changed due to pathing issues for like NPCs and people sitting and getting up and stuff. It looks very, very nice. And it looks beautiful here too. It's more of like taking over the room here though. Anyway, the conference table seats, if I recall correctly, six. So it's four around the sides, one on each end. And the conference table, I would argue, could also be used as a form-up place for a holiday event. Like if you're all celebrating Luminalia or something, you absolutely could use it for that type of stuff. You can also have org meetings there. You can role play with that type of table. You can get a lot of use out of it, and it comes with the ship. The piano is the extra. I do hope someday they do sell the piano again. And if that angers you that you're hearing me say that, if you're a fellow owner, I mean, they can figure it out where they could do an 88G carbon edition or something, where the system is not as it's not two tone like this. Instead, it's like all carbon fiber black on the bottoms and on the sides and the trim. I mean, they could do something like that where it's just a little different, or a different piano even. You know, we can get creative, but I do believe that people should have the ability to run this. I just see you can just hold down F and you can sit or play the music, and that's it. Like I said, at the end of the video, I'll have that playing. So in general, you have a few different things going on in this space. This is the prime space of the entire ship. The hot tub does not work yet. I think that also doubles as a dance floor technically. At least that was the intention, but there's no lights above that are like, disco or LEDs or anything. RGB LEDs or anything like that. The button supposed to open it is on that left wall there, and unfortunately, it's kind of dead space now, which is a real shame. I believe that this should be an executive bathroom right here. I'm talking about having like two wash sinks and then a double seat jacuzzi tub inside there, and just say, look, that's the hot tub. So 1 to 2 players can utilize the tub, and also there's a double vanity basically in that executive washroom. So it'd be like the biggest washroom in the game, aside from like the Carracks, which have sillily large ones from the old days of um, the history of Star Citizen. And right there, I'm saying that if you have the extra space now, you would be able to put in a docking collar at the very least, and maybe even figure out something that can have like staircase or a ladder that can lead downwards off that docking collar. So when you're landed and you're not docked with something, but landed, you could step off right there instead of having to go into the crew quarters and elevators and stuff to get on and off the ship on person. This is one of the hilarious things that many people have pointed out already, but like having modules for the ship literally less than like 3 feet from where somebody's sitting in a bathing suit inside a hot tub is insane. It's a little. I think ships. We have to be creative. This is me showing like the house of dance floor now, more than anything. But yeah, I just don't see it. That's a shame. It's not in the same room as the piano. If that was the case, like dance floor should be like right next to the piano and be like a form-up spot in front of the bar, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's kind of like out of place. I understand why the team went with that. They had to have that module, so to speak, that item, that component of the ship that is in its original description. But I feel like they could have changed it a little bit. There's some more modules, for example, and then the engineering space. And as we go to the back, you'll notice that it has kind of more matching with the other constellations. But this space right here, this space is the real one, because the secret is it's 2 stories. So there's a shrunken down, like by height, cargo bay below. And this is where your vehicle goes. So in a lot of the constellations, you walk around on this section and there's like a gantry around the left and the right. But instead, the Phoenix is like wider, stouter on the bottom. And that allows you to have that extra space for the luxury area. That really sets the Phoenix apart from the rest of its constellation brethren. The button is notoriously difficult to grab, so if you see me here, I am going to show you where it is. It's this tiny little button hidden in the darkness, which is ridiculous. I keep thinking it's always over here every time I come down here. Then I find the button finally. There it is. So as I talked about, the cargo bay is good. It can hold the Lynx rover. It can hold the Ursa rover technically as well. The Phoenix Constellation Phoenix Emerald comes with the Ursa Emerald, not the Lynx. Also, you can note that there's a P-72 P-72 Archimedes underneath, but not the Emerald Edition. Now, you do get the Emerald Edition, but it is its own ship right now. It doesn't seem to be attached to the docking system. So technically, the P-72 is like a loaner, and then also you have your Emerald. So that's not the Emerald up there right now. The Emerald is a very coveted. The Archimedes Emerald is a very coveted ship, and it's a shame you can only get it as a seasonal item. But it comes with a package with the Connie Emerald and the Ursa Emerald. So you get like 3 rare ships. And they're just painted variants, but they have different interiors, especially especially if we're talking about the Archimedes. That has a different interior than the traditional Archimedes. So if we're talking about the Archimedes Emerald compared to the Archimedes, I would take the Archimedes Emerald every day of the week. It is a beautiful interior. It's like a darked out interior with green carbon fiber, which is a little different, but it's much nicer than the traditional Archimedes with the white like fiberglass looking thing on the inside, and then these wooden light colored wood panels. You'll see it towards the end. I actually will have a comparison between the two. So be sure to use chapters if this format's a little long for you. So this is kind of the space where like the dance area should be in the form up area. And having these disconnected into like different spaces is out of necessity, I'm sure, but it kind of creates a difficult project for a lot of folks to keep track of. Inside the engineering space, there's more modules, and they're actually written on them what they are, which is probably better that they're not written in the other room what they are. This is how you get to your snub. You can see this whole room's tied up with the snub. Multiple people have suggested this is where the restroom should be. So if you get rid of the snub, all of a sudden you'd have space to be able to put like the washroom and maybe even some other space back here, maybe another whole other bedroom or something. But in general, this is what we're dealing with right now. So in general, just picture this as the Archimedes Emerald. Like I said, if you're really excited and you just want to see that ship, go ahead and jump into the chapters. It's further along. But the ship in general can dock and undock with the N key. So you hold that down, and then you can get him out of the ship. It's kind of interesting to point this out, but the Kruger voiceover is extremely rare. You can note there's no quantum. Hopefully with master modes and some other changes coming down the pike, there'll be some type of way to fast move this thing in bursts that can do like, 30, 40, 50 kilometers, hopefully quickly. But right now I can just move really, really quick in a straight line. I think when I tested it later on in this video, I think it's like 1277, I think was it maxing out. I mean, it's nearly an interceptor at its speeds. And it's extremely maneuverable. You can black out and red out very, very quickly in this ship. And it's a pleasure to fly it. It's beautiful. But in general, what we need to think about is like just this whole space on the ship is tied up to that one little snub. And yes, the snub has 4 little energy repeaters. But is a ship with 4 size 1s really worth taking up that much space of the ship? If you're just having fun, probably, sure. It's one more toy, so to speak. It's one more thing to take out. You can also use it as a scout or just a little extra damage on that. That's kind of what it's meant to do, is be a little extra damage. It's a nice little Easter egg. So Josh Coons pointed out that they put in a low poly model of the Phoenix that was beforehand, of the original Phoenix, and that's the entire ship cut into pieces and then put into a fish tank. It's a nice little Easter egg. And that's kind of like what really I feel when I especially in this space, this part of the ship, the VIP spaces, you can feel they were crafted. They put some effort into them, and they did care I mean, they really did care, and they were trying to make something amazing. And they were using the old metrics, the old systems. They were doing a lot of this from scratch. If you watch the old videos, I'll include it in the description. The old interview with him, he talks about like how they had to pick out the stone colors and the wood flooring and what looked expensive, but like RSI expensive, not like Origin expensive, in real life versus what would be in a spaceship, and then consider like what would be uber valuable. And he talked about how wood is something that's probably a pretty luxurious thing for space. It's very rare for being in space. It's kind of why Origin kind of trims their stuff out. Now with the style guides changing quite a lot, this ship not necessarily, but it would be interesting to see if like there is a style change to this ship. I think it's gonna be more of the utility changes. So adding the extra restroom some one way or another. It's a restroom washroom for the executive space, for the VIP space would be important. Can note that there is all these different modules all running around the front. You can't really access them right now, but with resource management coming online, you will have to. So if something breaks, you have to be able to go back there. If there's a relay that like feeds the energy back and forth to it, you'll need to fix that. This is the color, kind of sort of like when the lights are off in the normal Phoenix. And when you're in the Phoenix Emerald, this is how it looks when the lights are dimmer. So that blue color is more of like the industrial RSI color, for lack of a better term. And yeah, I just really like the trim. I really like the trim here on the Phoenix, on the flooring when the lights are down. So this is when you turn all the systems off, which is unfortunate. That's the only way you can get this to be done right now. But think of the 400i, like for example, where the door panels that like turn, the doors on and off also can turn lights on and off. And then think of the light panels and some of the HABs nowadays. They're going to have something like that. I think it's just going to be the door panels. You walk up to them and you turn the lights on and off. That's like a perfect one right there. That's just right now just relegated to not working for the hot tub, but it's there. Nearly the center of the room. Like the little lights even in like the Constellation Phoenix are dim, or like they're off. But yeah, the finish is quite nice when you turn the lights off. It's a different ship almost, those VIP spaces. And I hope to see more of that well, when they do their Golden Pass finally on the Connie series. Yeah, it's a pretty neat ship. Now, on to performance. You can see the landing gears, the entire rear parts. When this ship first came out, there was a lot of people that would target the very weak mounting points between the engines and the main body. And then the theory was like, oh, you take out two on either side, and the ship's defenseless now, and it's destroyable. Well, nowadays they have a lot more hit points on them, and armor's not in yet, but when that's in, it'll be even harder. And then you have the PDS. Hopefully, that'll be in the future at the rear of the ship. And you start seeing a pretty formidable little adversary, not even counting all the random little weapons it has, and some not so little weapons. But it's pretty maneuverable to get itself out of some trouble. It's not the fastest ship in the game, obviously. It is a Connie, but it's like on a scale of Taurus to Andromeda or Aquila. It is more on the sisters Aquila and Andromeda side of things, not the Taurus. It's not a brick. Maneuvering through space. So I'm kind of showing you what you can and can't do with this, kind of stretching it to its limits by trying to do turn and burns and high acceleration maneuvers, even just angled turns and stuff. They kind of can really tear some ships up because they don't have good thruster layouts. But the Connie has above average thruster layout, and it also has VTOL characteristics, which I'll show in a little bit. There's a general turn and burn. So, you literally, you're going at like top speed and you need to slow down immediately. How fast can you go? And the answer is, it's okay. Its main thrusters are pretty decent for its size. So these are the VTOL openings at the front there. It looks like a Tron movie. And at the back, those circles that are glowing. That's your VTOL characteristics. Obviously, they're mainly designed for Atmo at work. But when you press K, it changes the whole characteristics of the flight model. So when you're moving this thing in for practical things, like trying to dock at an outpost or a station or something,
Please proceed to assigned landing
note
bay.
all those MFDs are nice again to be able to request docking permission. Note that the thing has pretty responsive main thrusters as well as auxiliary thrusters on all sides, especially when it's not damaged. And you can really pin yourself in. For such a big ship, it behaves like a medium ship. Like, I don't know, I may catch heck for even trying to attempt to claim this, but it feels like almost like a freelancer. Like, not quite a regular freelancer, DUR or something neat like that, or an MIS. Maybe like between that and a max, or, you know. But it's just got so much thrust for what it's doing, and it feels effortless to fly this thing. Granted, I have a lot of experience, but it's just is what it is. Now, this is one thing I did want to leave in. It's not all roses and rainbows and stuff. The ship right now has a bizarre bug where if you forget to turn the engines off, the ship will start rising back up into the air inside a hangar. It's not enough to kill you if you stepped off the elevator without noticing, but it is enough to like literally injure your character. So if you don't carry around a paramed or something, good idea to just do it. In general, when I remember, I just go back down, then turn the engines off, then get out of the seat. So, I'm not trying to hide anything. It is what it is. And this is the main egress off the ship, no matter if you're in the fancy section or the not so fancy section. If you're not in a vehicle or want to open the giant vehicle cargo bay, this is the fastest way off the ship in general, other than the docked P-72, when that works. So, if you jumped ahead to this one, welcome to the P-72 Archimedes Emerald. And if you didn't jump ahead, you are the true troopers, just like me. So I'm re-recording this. It's kind of a marathon recording. So bear with me. If you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed from jumping ahead in the chapters, bear with me. One of the most beautiful ships in the game, and there's a reason people say that. It's because this ship, well, it's not hyper rare. It's a seasonal vessel that you can get your hands on in the kit. Usually it's not sold separately. It's usually a part of the Phoenix package, Phoenix Emerald package for the event for Stella Fortuna, which is the in-game kind of St. Patrick's Day type event for the UEE. What you'll notice right away is that it is a lot like the regular P-72. However, the interior is dark. The interior is very dark. It's got that beautiful dark green to it. And it's got carbon fiber looking panels on the sides that are like green as well. And I'll show them in depth when we land again. But in general, it's one of the more interesting things of this game, is the fact that it has an interior that's treated completely different. There are many ships in the game that have a special variant name, but all they are is just a paint job on the exterior. That's it. The only difference, especially the older ones. This is one of the few where that's a beautiful ship. Look at those main thrusters go. But this is one of the only paint variants, cosmetic variants that actually has an interior. I compared it in the original recording to the F8C Executive Edition, and I still don't think I'm off base there. The F8C Executive Edition has gold trim around the MFDs, and that has a darked out cockpit to try to make it look even more beautiful, and such on the interior. And that's why they had to make it a special variant. This thing has the same situation going on. The entire interior is darked out and that has carbon fiber instead of wood panel inserts, which doesn't sound like much, but it's extremely rare to have a paint shop that does something in the interior of the ship. Only a few ships in the entire game. Uh, I'm saying F8C Executive Edition in the same sentence as this thing. So just to give you an idea, and it doesn't hurt that it has it's actually not a bad looking ship to begin with, and it has that variant name effect, just like the Phoenix Emerald. People catch that it has a different name, so that makes them more interested as well. They're not hyper rare ships, but they are very nice. The performance of the capabilities of it in a straight line is pretty good. Like I said, it's near interceptor speeds, if not at some interceptors. You can see like it's you go into cruise control, your character doesn't black out or red out that often, because you don't have that stop start effect happening often. It has 4 size 1 energy weapons, and the thing is that they do have good convergence at range, but they are not on the fuselage itself of the craft. So that is something to remember. Although if it was a trade-off where you can only have 2 size 1 weapons on the center versus these 4, I would rather have the 4 Bulldog repeaters sitting exactly where they're at than then slim it down to 2, because I think that I don't know if that nose can handle 4 Bulldog repeaters, and plus it would take away from its looks, which is a big part of this ship, whether you like it or not, especially this version of the P-72. It's funny when you pass out with this ship. It's like you wake up in a new time zone. It's so responsive, because it's not just that it's fast; it gets up to speed fast too. So like you wake up and you're like nowhere near the station anymore. So it doesn't have quantum, but it can get places pretty quickly. I think this is going to be quite an interesting ship post Master Modes rollout, especially when you have ships that everything wants to be slowed down. Everything needs to slow down. Everything needs to slow down. Time to kill needs to be longer, etc., etc. I'm curious how this thing's going to fit into that meta, because it's not just supposed to be how it looks. But yeah, there's the green carbon fiber looking things, is how I would describe them. And then you also have that green like hull of like that fiberglass metal looking stuff that the ship's made out of. That's like inside instead of white. So instead of the wood panels, it has the green carbon fiber, and then instead of the white walls, it has like these dark green walls. It's just a very attractive ship. And unique. I think that's unique. I mean, unless you don't like the green color. And you might not appreciate it as much as I do. So, in general, the ship itself is going to put you in a good spot. It's extraordinarily maneuverable. But it's more of like it likes to go in a straight line and then kind of tilt and kind of curve off that straight line. Kind of like the physics of like an actual fighter jet, at least based in the games I've played and simulators and stuff, where kind of like the craft needs to go. If it's going fast, it can only turn so tightly, so angledly, whereas other ships in this game have enough thrusters to kind of cheat that system. So the Hornets, for example, have like a very nice balanced amount of thrusters on all sides, so they can kind of dogfight better. This thing can't quite do that as well. In fact, I'll just flat out say it. It can't. Based on my skill set. Now, I'm sure somebody will be in the comments going, "I've destroyed everything with this." Yeah, okay. But for me, at least what I've experienced, this ship is more for the pleasure cruise, for the showing off, for the fun, for the scouting, maybe targets of opportunity and assisting with targets of opportunity, but really it's not exactly a keen dogfighter, especially in 1v1s. And that's fine, because it's meant to be a snub, and it didn't get there on its own, right? It was deployed off of a Phoenix. An entire Phoenix is coming down to beat up whatever is trying to mess with its P-72, right? So, so that's something to keep in mind too. So it's okay. Just see how responsive it is. Like when you want to go hyper accelerate, you can, but like as soon as you start accelerating, it kind of like, I don't know, it doesn't quite turn the same. And this is me showing like just the raw thruster layout is extremely sparse. You can see these two little thrusters. So there's one towards the back, right behind the cockpit. You'll see that circle light up, and then there's one towards the front. So right on the nose. And I think that's one of the problems. It's like the thrusters are just so small, so few. It's not ideal for that. Watch this. This is me. I'm from it.
You're blocking an active flight
I'm
bay.
literally next to an
Please
active
vacate
flight
the
bay.
vicinity.
I black out. I didn't add that echo effect, by the way. And look how far away I am when I wake back up. That's just how this ship is. It'll take you to another time zone, whether you're conscious or not. It's a pleasure to fly. Very good looking vessel. If you're on the fence about the Phoenix itself, the Emerald Archimedes is quite a looker. If they do sell this separate, worth a pickup. Anybody worth a pickup to anybody, especially if it's a CCU. I doubt they'll let that happen, but it's a beautiful ship and it's worth a look. If you ever do get your hands on this thing, don't CCU it. Do not CCU these Fortuna event things, these Emerald editions. Do not CCU them. Because they are rare. I'm going to use air quotes for rare. At any point, they could turn around and revamp them or change them up, or all of a sudden there's an Emerald MSR or something else, and then and they retire these, and then you're trying desperately to find one when you could have just got it at cost and kept it. It's just some food for thought. You can see me, like, I mean, literally I had less trouble with the actual Connie, getting the Connie Phoenix in here, than this thing. And it just goes to show, like, it's just so much acceleration. When you're trying to do precision maneuvers, it kind of fights you. It wants to go slow and then maneuver versus, or go fast, but like stay fast and then kind of like roll and rotate while you're doing it. It's a different kind of play style that I'm used to most of the time. Really, really fun ship though. Really fun. Especially before the Fury. I mean, this was like unheard of, this type of ship. So once again, the interior is different, and you can see, I mean, there's so many little things. It does have storage. It has 60K on board. Yeah, there it is. 60K micros, whatever. And it does not have, like, don't expect like a Gladius type weapon rack like up here, where on a Gladius probably there'd be like a opening where you could put like a, you know, some of your two-hand weapons and utility tools and stuff. None of that on this. It is a pure speed demon / snub fighter, and I think it shows quite well. It's a shame Kruger doesn't make more ships. I would love to see a Kruger ship with a quantum drive. It doesn't have to be super big either. It would just be really cool to see, and certainly a fascinating ships they make, especially the P-72, which is the luxury snub of the pair that you can get with the Phoenix, that you get with the Connies, the non-Taurus Connies. So let's also pull out the other one. So this is the P-72 Archimedes non-Emerald edition. This is what is sitting underneath the Phoenix. Notice the white walls, the wood instead of the green carbon fiber. And I don't think I'm off base. I think this thing, they're trying to make it look like a fancy yacht, like a yacht tender or something like that, and I'm not a fan, at least with this. I think Origin can pull that kind of feeling off much better than RSI, and Kruger is kind of in bed with RSI on this one, at least based on this design. So I don't really think the yacht thing is going over too well. But then again, to be fair, I'm not usually a fan of the bright white color in most ships. So I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. You can see those panels there. And same weapon loadouts, same modules, you know, all that kind of stuff. When you go down the whole line, it's literally the same ship. It just has the different interior and the paint. I wish they'd do more interior changes for more of those custom paint variants. Back and like make all the back catalog look nice, and even some new ones. Why not? But yeah, you can see those wood panels really are there, and the white finish around them. Interesting ship. So overall, I think a big part of what you need to think about is the cost of this, what you're interested in, etc. If it continues like previous years, there was the Fortuna Legends pack, which had a Connie Phoenix Emerald, the P-72 Archimedes Emerald that you saw in this video as well, and I went in detail with, the Ursa Rover Fortuna, which I did not go into, but it's a green Ursa. It is unique because of its name and the green paint job on the outside, but it's nowhere near as caringly changed as the Archimedes Emerald or the Phoenix's Emerald paint job. They look very fetching. And then it also included a Cyclone MT, all under 6-month insurance for $440 USD. Now, here's the kicker. The Cyclone MT, you can CCU to a different ship or vehicle that includes better insurance. For example, subscribers, I think it's Centurion gets a year on their CCUs, and the Imperators then get 2 years. And then at the larger sales, such as IAE, you can get 10-year CCUs. So there's special CCU deals. Additionally, in the past, there was a Nomad that was a CCU that included LTI. And the Cyclone MT is cheap enough that if you get a CCU to something else, you can then convert that into a Nomad if you can get your hands on one of those, or if you have one socked away. If you do, congrats. But honestly, if you get 10-year on this, I think it's really in a nice spot. It's not too over the top on the price. You got to remember that Cyclone MT costs something. So you have to keep in mind that there's a value there. Additionally, you get 3 rare ships in one package. I hope that this comes back around. I hope they don't try to play a game where they add an additional ship to this that's even more ships or something, or take away that Cyclone MT, because then the value added is going to be very difficult. It's hard to argue this much on the line with only 6 months insurance. As a reminder, if you get LTI or 10-year, 2-year, 1-year extra insurance on any ship in there, the entire package gets it. I'm talking right now about the flare. So the flare on the dashboard. In this is not a dashboard. So normally you have the conference table there, and if you do get your hands on the Hartwell Music Sentinel 80HE, or it's sold again, hopefully you would be right there where you switch it. If I was sitting on New Babbage, where I have all my other equipment, I would easily be able to switch between the conference table and the Hartwell 80HE. So loadout specific. It's not really modular, but it's, well, social modular. So you can have your org meetings or your friends get-togethers or something like that, and then in the next minute you can have a piano in there and really class the place up and have some fun. So in general, I did upgrade a lot of the equipment. I did not upgrade anything on either of the Archimedes, but I do feel obligated to point out that the Phoenix Emerald had a lot of upgrades, a lot of competition grade A and B equipment. Honestly, a few $100K worth of stuff on a rare ship like this. That doesn't look like that normally. It just looks like that in the hologram. But honestly, in general, a ship like this deserves that type of stuff. And now I think we're gonna wrap things up. Thank you for sticking around. To my long-term subscribers, make these as much for you as I do for myself nowadays. So with that being said, here's Moonlight Sonata.